Good evening and welcome to this special broadcast on Bloomberg Quint. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe laid the foundation stone for India's first bullet train, which will run between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. The bullet train, which will be operational by 2022, just in time for New India, and this has been promised by Rail Minister Piyush Goyal, marks a technological leap for the Indian rail system. The big pitch for the bullet train has been that 88,000 crore rupees of the 1,10,000 crore project is being funded by JICA, that's Japan International Cooperative Agency, at a soft loan of 0.1% interest for 50 years. So is the bullet train a win-win situation? Or is there more to the story? Will the bullet train be the first step towards changing the way India travels, or will it remain a showpiece project? What are the substantial gains? To talk about all of this, I'm joined this evening by R.N. Malhotra. He's former Railway Board Chairman. Raghu Dayal, former CMD of Concor. Kesavan, Distinguished Fellow of ORF, joins us this evening. And Ashish Kuvelkar, who's member of India Railway Fan Club, but also Associate Director of C-DAC, which works with the IT Ministry of the central government. But first, let's speak to Sajith Mangar of Bloomberg Quint, who has been tracking both days of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's visit. Sajith, first question is, what has really come out of it? How much investments are coming into India? Because right from the 2014 visit, there were a lot of infrastructure projects which Japan had promised to invest in. Is there a substantial boost this time?
It seems to be a very fruitful visit for the bilateral talks which happened between India and Japan, between the bullet train and various road projects. The Japan would be giving a soft loan of roughly around 192 billion yen, and that's pretty much what you call a lot of money which is coming into Indian infrastructure space at a rate of 0.1% interest rate, and for a period of 50 years. And the biggest challenge which was being seen for the Indian infrastructure space was is the funding of these projects, and it seems that the soft loan, or which is coming into an official development assistance in the form of that ODA, is the way forward, because that not only helps the projects to be viable from a financial point of view, but also it helps create high technology infrastructure in the country. Now, please remember that when we started the talk of bullet train, we were all talking about who is going to fund it, where the funds are going to come in from, given the cost of fund which is there, which is there for the industry, 8-9% or around 10-12%, which industry was paying. Will it be feasible for the bullet train going forward? But this fund is coming at 0.1% and for a period of 50 years. So it seems
but it is a majority of the fund. You're absolutely right. But just let's get into that math a bit. Do we know how much the Indian government and the Indian Railways is going to spend on this project? Because 88,000 comes from JICA. It's a 1,10,000 crore project. What about the rest?
No, from whatever I can guess now, it seems that the project which has been done through National High-Speed Rail Corporation Limited, which is an SPV created for this particular project, it will be capitalized in equity and debt in equal proportion. So roughly around 10,000 odd crores in equity and 10,000 odd crore in debt, which will be raised by the National High-Speed Rail Corporation. And once that happens, you have a loan facility which is coming at 0.1% as well. So that takes care of the funding for the project.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Sajith. Sajith Mangar, there has been reporting on what really comes out of the entire summit. Is it much more than a photo op, which one would hope for? And we're going to get to our panel in just a bit and speak to them about it. But before that, what can you really expect in 2022 from the bullet train and the entire project? We've put together some statistics for you. All right, so all very exciting. We're all waiting for that bullet train to come. It's going to be a huge push to Indian infrastructure. But let's get into a bit more detail with our panelists. Mr. R.N. Malhotra, I'll come to you first. He's, of course, former rail board chairman. Sir, what is your view on how much we're really going to get out of it? Because let's be honest, some of the commentary, and it's coming from political opponents of the government of the day, but they are raising the question that do we really need a bullet train right now, or do Indian Railways need to spend that money in strengthening the current infrastructure? That should be a priority. That's one argument. What do you have to say to that?
You see, both the things are separate. They are completely different areas. In the case of high-speed trains, they have to have a start. You see, now high-speed trains have been introduced in even smaller countries like West Asian countries of Saudi Arabia or the East Asian countries, even the Thailand, etc. They are going to have a high-speed train. So India being one of the foremost developing countries, they had to make a start with this. Now, as far as the funding is concerned, you see, for example, in high speed, the funding is being arranged through JICA. 80% money will be given by them. The rest of it, even if it is 20,000 crores over a period of 5 years, that is not substantial. While as far as the maintenance of the tracks or the maintenance of the existing railway system is concerned, that has to continue. And that will continue as it has been continuing till now, even with more vigor, because certain additional funds, even for that area, have been arranged by the government of India through, for example, the loan from LIC, etc. So these are two completely different areas.
All right.
You have to keep on developing the technology, and you have to keep on running whatever you have the existing trains and existing railways.
Mr. Raghu Dayal, you have, of course, batted for the bullet train and how it will be a big leap in infrastructure. I was looking at the joint statement. It also talks about using Japanese technology and their help to strengthen the rest of the rail infrastructure. Do you really see, a symbiotic relationship there?
You see, let's face it, when we are talking of high-speed rail, funding, as you said, is extremely important. But let us understand the significance of it. Any new technology, which is cutting-edge technology, for instance, sake of, let's go back to 19th century, early 19th century, when steam engine was invented. Now, it was just not an engine. It signified tremendous amount of development which has manifested itself over the last more than almost 200 years or more. Now, what has happened is that you change the basic social, economic universe of the country, the mental geography change. The high-speed rail, even in Japan, when it started in 1964, it was opposed for many, many years by the cross-section of society. But they took a decision, and world over, it has now been proved that it is a catalytic agent. Let us not look at it only from the financial point of view, but the economic point of view. Now, infrastructure comes in. Infrastructure in terms of track, signaling, rolling stock, whatever it is. But software part of it is equally important. Building up skills, knowledge in terms of construction, in terms of maintenance, in terms of servicing. And that is exactly, I mean, imagine for 50 years, there has been no fatality in the entire, HSR operations all over Japan. It is nothing like this has happened in TGV in France, for instance. They are the leading thing. Every 5-minute train is running, and no train is...
No, I was just coming to that point.
No train is more than, say, 1 minute late.
All right, so that's fantastic. That happens in Japan. The question is, will one bullet train, extend to that kind of a situation all over? And then let's look at the majority of how our trains run right now. Though, is that making a case for not, investing in a bullet train? Not at all, because one has to start somewhere. But before we take it further, let's just play out what a number of political parties have been saying about the bullet train. The Congress, of course, is opposing it, but so is the Shiv Sena, who is an ally of the BJP in Maharashtra.
Bullet train is not India's priority. India's priority with Japan in developmental cooperation and infrastructure building. He is seeking to use this as an opportunity just to impress. This is the time to show results as to where we are.
जो सामान्य रेलवे जो हमारे देश में चलती है उसमें इतने अपघात हो रहे हैं, नए ट्रैक्स की मांग है, नए ट्रेनों की मांग है। आज 50-60 साल के बाद भी कई जगहों पर ट्रेन नहीं पहुंचती है। एक व्यक्ति का स्वप्न पूर्ण करने के लिए किसी का अचानक से किसी को दिमाग में आता है कि नहीं, मेरे देश से बुलेट ट्रेन होनी चाहिए।
He's not like Congress party politicians who think about elections, who think about development only on the eve of elections. Rather than welcome such an initiative, the Congress party appears completely out of sync with the whole country, which is celebrating this India's journey to the high pedestal of infrastructure development.
All right, this is the political rhetoric is in place, but some of the points raised there, Mr. Kesavan, one of them was that do we need, as a country as a whole, need to first focus on a bullet train in light of recent events which have taken place in the Indian Railways? Can we do more on that end? Or is it not an either-or situation like some have argued?
Well, I think Indian Railways are one of the biggest networks in the whole world. So I think we have already spent a lot of time, and I think our railways have.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Are made considerable progress. I think it's a, yeah, I think it's high time for India to introduce a new technology. I have spent years in Japan. I know how the bullet trains are running there. As one of the speakers told us earlier, in 1964, when bullet trains were introduced in Japan, there was considerable opposition. The same questions were raised there also. But Japan borrowed heavily from the World Bank. Even the World Bank advised Japan to be cautious. So, yeah. But let us say that Japan first tried only with a short route from Tokyo to Osaka. Yeah, just like we are doing now from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. Yeah, but gradually after that they tended to increase the working of the railway system, the bullet trains. As one of the speakers said earlier, the bullet trains really have had a tremendous history there. There has not been a single fatal incident in the last about how many years now, from 1964 onwards.
Right.
So it has really created a great record, and it has also had spillover effect in other areas also. Same thing we will have here. See, in my opinion, I think there are two processes. One, we have to try this new technology. At the same time, we must also keep on modernizing our railways. That's what the joint statement says. The Japanese services, Japanese technology should also be used not only for bullet trains, but also for modernizing our railway system itself. There also, I think the Japanese can really contribute a lot. Now, coming back to bullet trains, I think we have to see the Shinkansen system along with other developments in the region. For example, Mumbai, Delhi freight corridor, then also Mumbai, Delhi industrial corridor. All these things are going to be integrated in a way, and that is really going to have a tremendous impact on the technological map of this country. I don't think India is right now planning to have bullet trains throughout the country.
Yes.
At best, I think gradually we can increase I think we can connect the 4 or 5 main cities like Chennai, then Bombay, then Calcutta, etc. That's what we are probably planning. And I think that's a very, very encouraging kind of development. I think we have to pursue it. I think we should not really bother too much about the so-called expenditure. Expenditure is going to be there, but once the trains are running, they are also going to generate a lot of money. And this is what the Japanese did. You see the traffic between Osaka and Tokyo, how much money it has generated, how many millions of people have actually traveled, and what kind of impact it has had on the general life of the people. So that's also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And, let's just get into a little bit of detail about the bullet train and what we know about it. So, when Manoj Sinha was in the Rail Ministry and MOS Railways in 2016, in a written reply to Parliament, he had said that the ticket price of the bullet train would be about 1.5 times that of a first-class AC fare. So by that comparison, as of today, we're looking at a bullet train ticket costing about 3,300 rupees. Now, what we did is we looked at how much a flight costs from Mumbai to Ahmedabad as of today. And of course, it's significantly cheaper, in some cases almost half. A flight would take about 1 hour 10 minutes, while the bullet train would take around 3 hours. So just looking at that very quick comparison, let me now go to the railway enthusiast on our panel, Mr. Ashish Kuvelkar. Do you think it's a good deal for users? And remember, a lot of the passengers on this route are businessmen from Gujarat, very cost conscious, very conscious about the value of their time. So for them, will this be a factor? Because right now, a flight ticket between Mumbai and Ahmedabad at these projected prices would cost less.
I would sum up my thoughts in one sentence, that it is time to bite the bullet. Okay, having said that, coming to the cost, I am not sure the prices of the airlines that you have quoted, is it for tomorrow, is it for 8 days hence or 1 month hence? Because we know that the airlines follow dynamic pricing, and as you buy the ticket closer to the time of travel, it may go up substantially. Having said that, cost I think will come later in terms of when they actually announce the fares. I mean, we will see that when the services are launched. But I would say that it's time that we have to upgrade the technology. And because the infrastructure that has been set up more than 150 years ago, and we are making incremental changes in it, that railways infrastructure is already overburdened. My panelists who are from railways would agree with me. There are some sections which are like working on more than 100% the capacity. You cannot simply keep adding more trains there. And another thing that is issue is that those tracks carry mixed traffic. They carry slow moving freight traffic, they also carry passenger traffic. So there is no scope on the existing network to take any trains which could go faster than what are going today. In case of high speed train, you need right of way. The train should go without any hindrance at the speed that is designed for. Hence, when you have an exclusive right of way, like a metro or expressway, you have to invest more money, and that comes at a cost. And when you want to reap the benefits, you have to empty your pockets. And that's why, even if it may look like it is exorbitantly costly, but still, in my opinion, it is worth the price that we are paying, because in long run, the benefits that we would be getting would be much higher than the investment that we are making. So to answer your question, let's wait for them to announce the prices of the tickets.
Yes.
And I feel that the good thing that they're doing is they are starting it in Mumbai, between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, where people can afford it.
Yeah,
and I'm sure.
No, and in fact, to answer your question, the ticket prices we're showing is for a fortnight from now. The bullet train
Correct.
prices that we have come to is based on what the minister at that time has said in Parliament, that will be 1.5 times. So at current, first AC class rates, that's how we have come to that conclusion. Of course, the caveat here is
3,000 rupees is a fair price.
okay. The
And we have
caveat
to
also is that this is 9 stations. So if you're wanting to travel in between, is the airport closer to your destination or is the bullet train? You have a waiting time at airport. So all of those things will come into play.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add that if you want to take aircraft, you have to either go to Ahmedabad or you have to go to Bombay.
Yeah.
You cannot take if you are at, let's say, Bilimoria or you are at Surat. It's unviable. Other than that, you have to report to airport 1 hour before time, 1.5 hours before time, and that all counts. So I think in long run, if you look at 3,000 rupees, in my opinion, is a fair price in case that is what it is going to be.
Okay, I want to take it to a larger infrastructural question, because at the end of the day, Mr. R.N. Malhotra, what matters to people and a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, is that how does this work? So we know now that the bullet train will end at BKC in Mumbai, for example. What about feeder transport? Because a lot of our infrastructure has this problem of not going through the last mile. You get off the bullet train and then what? You have a lot of traffic coming in at one spot. You face that with the metro in Mumbai, for example. Do you think that, projects like this need to be planned end to end?
Actually, you see, the Japanese are perfect in planning. They will take normally 3 years for planning if the work has to be completed in next 2 years' time. So they must have done all that planning as to how the transfer of people will be carried out from the existing modes of transport to the high-speed lines. So that arrangement, of course, the details of the designs have not yet come in, but that all must have been done because they are very meticulous in the planning of the complete system. But a couple of things more I would like to add, and that is that the financial viability of this line will also depend upon how our GDP grows. Because in the next 5 years, the passenger traffic or the money which the people are able to pay, that all depends upon how your economy is growing. And if the economy grows well, then as far as the air traffic is concerned and the traffic on the high-speed line is concerned, both will prosper, because everyone will find ways as to whether to a particular person that is more convenient or that is more convenient. As far as I can see, the time of journey will be almost the same for the two, because as has been mentioned, for air travel you have to go earlier, you have to check in and things like that. And then the airports are a certain distance from the towns. And if you add all that time, that will not be less than that what this train will be taking.
Okay.
So the main thing will be, the fare difference will be not much between the two. So it will be mainly based upon the convenience for the people. For some person that may be more convenient, for some that is more convenient, but then the total number of people who want to go from Ahmedabad to Bombay with that cost should be substantial. For example, in the beginning itself, in high-speed trains, they are saying that they'll be running 35 trains in each way. That means there should be between 20 and 25,000 people traveling every day and able to pay that much of fare.
Okay, so some comments coming in from viewers who are tuning in right now. Sumit Kumar Chawla says, I think he's trying to say bright India. Sandeep Baluvuri doesn't agree. He says it's a waste of money and 80% funded by Japan. Do we need this? Well, Sandeep, most of our panelists, actually all of our panelists here think that yes, we do need it. And if we don't really invest in technologies of the future, we aren't going to move forward. But, Raghu Dayal, coming to the point of the overall infrastructure push, and there's almost a passing mention in the joint statement about how the Japanese are going to help upgrade railway safety and the safety of convention railways. I think, you know what Mr. Malhotra is saying, that the Japanese will plan how passengers will exit from the bullet train and onto other modes of transport is a bit of wishful thinking. We are going to have to do that planning ourselves. But how do you see this really translating into the rest of our railways?
You see, it works as an inflection point. Now, let's face it, a high-speed rail essentially has to have two elements. One, there must be density of traffic, there must be frequency of traffic. It has to be fast, it has to be frequent. Now, as I said, in Japan, in France, they are able to run trains every 5 minutes, unless that frequency is there. And mind you, high-speed rail does not depend on the traffic that is existing. It creates traffic by itself. It is an inflection point. So the entire impact that takes place technologically, technique-wise, operationally, it's entirely a different one. On the Indian railways, before we start looking at the high-speed rail, we are already in the evolutionary stage for high-speed freight services, with the assistance again from Japan. Now, dedicated freight corridors being built between Delhi and Bombay, Delhi and Calcutta, Eastern and Western. They take into account there will be trains running with heavier load at faster speeds. Now, similarly, in case of high-speed rail, it is not only between Bombay and Ahmedabad, it is the tier 2, tier 3 cities which get impetus for development. That is the basic advantage that it happens, because mobility itself provides the thrust to economic development. And what has happened? It is China, for instance. They are exactly in the similar situation as Indian railways were. Now, they are the largest network. They are having 22,000 kilometers, when the entire rest of the world does not have more than about 30,000 left over. So more than about 50% they have. Now, how they have impacted the conventional system, because it has led to new technologies, new techniques, new systems of skilling the people.
All right. I'll just end with one question that everyone is asking, and this is just based on the track record generally on big infrastructure projects in India. Mr. Kesavan, can we really hope for 2022?
Pardon?
Can we hope for the project to be completed by 2022?
I'm not able to hear you.
Can we hope for the project to be completed by 2022 as is being promised?
Yeah, I am quite optimistic, because I believe in Japanese, commitment to stick to their own timing. I think once the Japanese say something, I think they always mean it. And therefore, I think we have to, of course, cooperate very effectively with the Japanese. I have absolutely no doubt that the project will really be completed by 2022, no doubt about it.
All right,
yes.
Ashish, last words. Do you think we'll be on track by 2022?
Yes, I am like Mr. Kesavan. I am also very optimistic, and I am sure the good techniques, processes that Japanese bring in, they will rub off on our partner, Indian counterparts as well. And I'm sure they will complete it in time.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking with us. Just one observation from what all of you are saying. There's so much faith in the fact that the Japanese work culture, which is lauded the world over, will rub off onto us. And that will push this project towards completion. I think we should put a little faith in our own capacities as well. And of course, we have a lot to learn from the Japanese, but push through with that bullet train to be completed on time. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast this evening. Do keep sending in your views on what more should be covered and what you'd like to know about the bullet train. And of course, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.